Hello and welcome to the third video of me explaining this 5-part painting series based on the different stages of the self-actualization process. Today we are talking about surrender. This is my third painting of my 5-part painting series based on the different stages of the self-actualization process. A quick definition of self-actualization: it's basically when you recognize your full potential and that it is something that is tangible and that you are able to fulfill. The first 2 paintings I made on this series are about the feeling of being disconnected, and then also the feeling of enlightenment and elevating in enlightenment. And now we are on the third painting, which is surrender. First, let's talk about the other stages just a little bit before I get into this, just in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, which I highly recommend you go check out. So for my 5-part self-actualization series, this is the first painting. This is about the feeling of disconnection and feeling disconnected to the self, which leads to feeling disconnected with the world around you. You can find the link to this video in my bio or the description below. Here is my second painting of my 5-part painting series. This one focuses on enlightenment and the feeling of escaping that kind of sad and lonely place and just coming to the divine downloads and recognizations that there is more to life, and that just maybe some of the things that you've been hoping for are genuinely tangible and you're genuinely able to reach those phases in life, and just coming to the enlightenment that there is more than what life can feel like sometimes. And today we're talking about the third painting, which is surrender. I really love this painting. I really love that it was really an abstract process. I knew that I had wanted to paint this little guy right here. I knew that I wanted to paint this little fella on an island on their own, but I had no idea how I wanted to paint the clouds or the sky or anything like that. So it worked out really well, especially because I really just freehanded it, and I freehanded the clouds, and I'm really grateful for how it turned out. And I really love the colors and how all the colors just turned out to look so pretty and really cute. In a very basic sense, I wanted to touch on the feeling of surrendering to divine download. So I really wanted to express that, like, the act of surrendering is really a solo process. Like, we can have people supporting us, we can have community, but no one's gonna fully understand the divine, godly downloaded blueprints that are given to you as much as you will understand it, because you're the only one who's lived your life and understands what exactly you may require to get to a certain stage. And sometimes we don't understand that, and it's really just about stepping into trust with wherever our intuition is leading us, and just not overwhelming ourselves with the worry and concern of everything making sense, but just leaning into trust, leaning into understanding that sometimes the road there isn't always paved, and although that might be really scary, or maybe we've trusted individuals in the past and the things haven't worked in the way we wanted to, or maybe like just being able to be that as calm as this little guy on this island might not always feel possible, but all of that is what I want to talk about today. One of my first notes: sometimes God gives us blueprints to our ideal realities that only make sense to us, but it's about stepping into trust and faith that we are being led to exactly where we desire to be. Many times the path won't make sense to us, but it's about being able to listen to your intuition over the voices of anxiety about if you're going in the right direction. I'm one to argue that you always know deep down if you're in alignment or not, because being in alignment is an undeniable feeling. Those were some bars, so let's get a little deeper into that one. Sometimes we have these ideal realities that we really hope to enter, really wish that our life was going a certain way or looked a certain way or felt a certain way. Typically, we wish our lives felt a certain way, but we sometimes from comparison, we think that our lives will feel a certain way if it looks similar to something else we've seen. And I think that can be like it can be an easy trap to fall into, the thief of joy, which is comparison. Because sometimes, even though like you see someone living a life and it seems like that life looks exactly how you want your life to feel, it doesn't even feel that way to that person. They just know how to express their life like that. So I think it's really important that when we are finally ready and willing to step into surrender, that we have to come with the courage of understanding that we may not be able to fully express to somebody how we know certain things, or how we just feel in our soul to do certain things. And that's okay. But in order for our life to feel how we want our life to feel, like in order for life to feel like your ideal reality, it's going to take divine knowledge, or the knowledge from God, to really step into that and to know what exactly you need for things to feel like how you want them for you. Everyone is so different. Everyone requires such different things to feel certain emotions. Like for some person, someone giving them a sandwich is peak joy. But for someone else, that might not be peak joy for them. Maybe someone else needs to, receive $1,000. Then that might be peak joy for them. And for another person, maybe just like a hug is peak joy. Like everyone just requires such different things to feel certain ways. So it's really all about taking that time, alone, to step away from the chatter of what life seems like it needs to be, or even what people have told you life needs to be, and being able to sit with yourself and just your mind and to explore, what is it that you want? What are your dreams? And then but that's much more complicated sometimes than it might seem, because sometimes, even like when we're little, people tell us, oh, this is the definition of joy. Getting married, having kids, having your own home, having a nice car, having a little white picket fence yard. This is joy. But that's not joy for everybody. And it takes learning how to recognize the goals in our mind that were never and are not our goals, but they were goals told to us by people we trusted at a point in time, whether that's our parents, our teachers, our guardians, our siblings, our friends, social media, who knows. But it's really, it can become a really slippery slope when you come to recognize that a lot of your goals were things you never really wanted, but you just thought that was what you needed to feel what you wanted to feel. And when I was creating Surrender, I created this little guy on this island just chilling there naked, because sometimes it really feels like that. Like it feels like you're on your own island learning about everything there, and you're just there. How do I explain it? When we are taking time to unravel these things, it's a very raw process. It's a process that kind of rips off any type of hiding and any type of mask that one may have created. And you have to really sit there in a raw, very spiritually naked form, and just look at yourself in your complexity, in your fullness, in your wholeness, and really look at your traumas, really look at what brings you joy, look at your desires and your wants, and really sit there and just allow yourself to work with God, to work with your tuition, and to really understand what what of those wants and desires are things that come from your soul and your heart, and what comes from trauma and what other people told you. And that is really what I wanted to capture with this. And you can see like all these clouds are kind of all going into this little guy's head right here. And sometimes like there is so much for us to learn, and that whole process of learning all those things can be terrifying for some people. And I think that's why not a lot of people really are able to, I don't feel like a lot of people make it to this stage of the self-actualization process, because it can be a really scary thing. Sometimes, you know, even thinking about the traumas that we have gone through can be something that terrifies people, and there's just no way, they just feel that it's not possible to reach this stage. And I will say that this is all a voluntary process. Like, this isn't going to happen for someone if they don't want it to happen. And that can be honestly kind of detrimental when we don't realize how important this stage is to getting to our ideal reality. But I honestly think this is one of the scariest stages of reaching self-actualization, because you really have to just sit with yourself in a quiet space and actually let yourself hear what wants to be heard. And we see it all the time with, like, you know, us being in the midst of a really with us being in the midst of a really media heavy era in humanity. I think it's really easy to distract ourselves and to not step into this level of surrender, this level of being willing to just set the ego down and just listen to the divine downloads into God, into your inner child, and to what you genuinely want. Okay, so another part of my notes I wanted to touch on. All of the dreams that we desire for ourselves are divinely sent. We don't dream about things. And when I say dream, I mean like your dream, like what you dream for your life. Not like when you go to sleep and you're dreaming, but like, what do you dream for yourself? Like, what do you dream for your community? What do you dream for your reality? And we don't, so that's what I mean when I say dream. But let me reread it. All the dreams we desire for ourselves are divinely sent. We don't dream for fun. It's always a calling from God telling us what is possible. Now, I definitely don't think that everybody will agree with this statement because some people have really big dreams. You know, some people dream to see the end of world hunger. Some people dream to see the end of poverty. And is that a reality? I don't know. And I'm not saying that like, hey, this is the equation to ending world hunger, or this is the equation to ending world poverty, or anything like that. But, you know, maybe you're able to end poverty in your neighborhood. Maybe you're able to end hunger on your street or in your town, you know. But regardless though, what I'm saying is that God does not give us dreams for our lives for no reason. Like when you have an idea that your heart latches onto, and you know, like, OMG, this is really, really what I want to do, it is always for a reason. We are never given those types of divine downloads for no reason, even if it seems larger than life, you know. And it just makes me think about like some of the biggest people in history. If they would have thought like that, they would have never changed the world. And it's as simple as that, really. I personally am a firm believer that the imagination is just us looking into alternate realities in the spirit realm. I just truly believe that nothing is ever created. Energy is just recycled, and I think that involves mental energy too. Any of the ideas you get are never for no reason. all of your ideas come to you specifically for specific reasons. And anybody could have gotten the idea to, I don't know, make a video. But the idea that you have with your style and your spark, that idea was given to you because there is a way for you to touch that idea with your uniqueness and express it to the world, or express it to wherever you feel called to express it, so that particular people hear that would only really hear it in a way that you would explain it, would hear what you need to say, or hear or see what you have to express. I'll say that was one of my own concerns when it came to like making videos and stepping out into the world as an artist. I was like, there's so many artists around here, and AI is evolving, and art can come from anywhere. Anyone can say anything on a video. But there is a particular reason that I was given the idea to make a video like this, for example, because there is a way that I can explain something that's going to touch somebody in a way that no one else could touch that. Well, I'm going to say, like, the things that I'll say and in the way that I say it has the ability to touch people in ways that other people can't. And it's really also just come down to recognizing that me, like, if I'm talking personally, myself, me being able to step into surrender to these creative ideas that God has been working with me on and downloading into my brain, it's allowing me to help express things to people that they wouldn't have fully been able to understand any other way. And this also comes down to the fact that one of the most powerful things in life is an idea. All it takes is an idea to completely change someone's mindset, which inherently will change somebody's life. Like, think about how, I don't know, think about your dream career. You would have never wanted to do that dream career if the idea to do it had never come to you. And then once that idea came to you, oh, I could be an artist, I could be a singer. That idea completely changed your mindset, and as you grew up, you had that idea or those ideas with your career path, and now you are where you are because you had that idea in mind. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's an idea just is one of the most powerful things on this planet. When you have the calling to create something, think about the fact that you are being given one of the most powerful tools we have, which is the ability to spread an idea. And you see movements behind it, like you see whole religions behind it, you see entire cultures behind, like, with this, like, the fact that you are you is from a mixture of ideas that were spread onto you based on the environments you were in to help create who you are. I'm not saying that we are our environments, but our environments do shape us and form us, especially, when we're kids and we can't really help what our environments are. So, and not all ideas are good ideas or helpful, beneficial ideas too. Harmful ideas spread all the time. Ideas definitely have a spectrum of their own, but yeah, so that's really important with this. So with this painting, this is really just emphasizing the phase of deconstructing all of the ideas that have entered your brain and recognizing which ones are actually beneficial and healthy for you and for getting to where you want to go. And then also being open to getting downloads of new ideas that you never even never even recognized were possible, maybe. Like, for me, I definitely feel like this is a stage I am constantly in, of just being like, look, I had all these ideas for myself. Some of them aren't working. Let me just sit here, do some shadow work, deconstruct these ideas, and see what is it that I'm genuinely going after, so that I can alter my path in a way that'll be much more helpful for me to get there. One of my last notes I wanted to touch on was surrender is served best with intentional solo time. which brings intense clarity that can sometimes be daunting, but has the ability to change the trajectory of one's life. Intentional solo time isn't easy for everybody. I personally love intentional solo time. I used to have a lot of solo time that was not intentional, and I definitely grew up in like a only child household. Like I had siblings, but they didn't like live with me. So I grew up being like, I grew up with a lot of alone time. And as a kid, I felt like that alone time was not, I didn't like it. I felt kind of like a curse, honestly. But I think at this grown age of being in my 20s, I have learned to alchemize, I've learned to shift and morph those ideas of what solo time can look like into things that feel radiant and beautiful and bright and healthy. And I would say that learning to love my solo time and learning to be intentional with my solo time was one of the biggest factors towards really stepping deeper into surrender willingly. Because it can be easy to have lots of solo time and also find lots of distractions. But being able to recognize like, hey, I could be sitting here watching this show that doesn't really teach me anything, but is that going to elevate me? You know, maybe that would work if like I was intentionally watching something for inspiration, or like my artistry was making movies and I really wanted, or making a show and I really wanted to like find inspo. But like if that's not it, and if that's not intentional, then it's like, dang, what is this really doing for me? And am I really getting closer to this dream reality? And this is really something I've been practicing lately in general, just coming to recognize how to be as intentional with my free time as possible. Even if you're resting is intentional. So, but something I do really want to stress is that really taking the time to have this solo time will bring such immense clarity, even if that clarity is kind of painful at first or just in general. But it really, gaining the clarity from having that intentional solo time can truly change the entire trajectory of your life. And just like how an idea can change the trajectory of your life, think about if you were to take the time to have so like intentional solo time often enough where you're getting ideas downloaded on a daily basis. Like if only one idea has that possibility, think about what would happen if you had clouds and clouds and worlds of those ideas like every month, because you're taking all this time to have intentional solo time. So I'm saying that is my explanation on the third series of this 5-part painting series. Again, if you want to see the first 2 videos, I have the link to that below or in the bio. And yeah, I am excited to talk about the next one. So I would say like this one is one of my favorites. The next one is even more of a favorite. And then the last one is my favorite. So I'm not saying no shade to the first 2 at all. They're still my children. They're literally have those paintings right here looking at me and they're just like, I'm really excited to continue talking about this series, and being able to explain my artwork feels really fun and really groovy. So yay! Thank you so much for hearing my explanation of one of my newest paintings, and I'm excited to talk with you about the next painting.